These are the solutions for the study guide, the front side of the study guide for quiz number 1. Taking a look at our first problem, it says to find the sum or difference. And so here we have a sum because it's got an addition sign between the two numbers, but they're opposite in sign, so we always end up subtracting. And since there's more negatives than positives, the answer is -7. Here we've got another sum, but this time we have the same sign, so we end up adding the two numbers, and we end up getting -13. When we've got a difference, we're going to change it to an addition problem. I'm going to add the opposite, and then I see I have the same sign, so I do end up adding the two numbers. -17 is the solution. Here I'll add the opposite again, and when I do that, I've got 2 minus -5 is the same as 2 plus +5, so 7 is the solution. Here it says a reef explorer dives 25 feet to photograph brain coral. So dives, that means you're going down. Down means you've got a negative. So this is going to be a -25. So that's my first number there, -25. And then he rises 16 feet. So that's going to be a +16. So I'm going to put a +16 here. And then to travel over a ridge before diving back down 47 feet. So we've got a -47. So what I'm going to end up doing here, rather than putting all the numbers across, I'm going to make 2 rows of numbers, or 2 columns of numbers. So we're going to have some negative numbers and some positive numbers and combine them together. So we'll continue on reading. It says to survey the base of the reef. Then the diver rises 29 feet, so +29. And to see an underwater cavern. What is the location of the cavern with relation to the sea level? Okay, so we'll go ahead and combine these two terms right here. The -25 and the -47 give me -72. And then I'll add these two numbers together. And when I add those two, I end up getting 45. And so now I'm going to collect those two values, so 45 here, plus -72. When I combine these two terms, they're opposite signs, so I subtract. And I've got more negatives than positives, so it's -27 feet is what the answer is going to end up being. So 27 feet below, 27 feet, feet below sea level. That would be another way of saying it if I used words in place of that. So on this next one, we're just trying to find the product or quotient. So multiplying these two numbers gives me -20 and 5/10. So when we have one negative, it makes a negative, 2 makes a positive. Here we have a little bit of cross canceling that goes along, and multiplying across gives me +2 over 15. Positive because we have 2 negative signs. On this next one, I am dividing 9 into 8 1/10, but I got to bring that decimal point straight up in the quotient, and so that answer is going to end up being -9/10. So I'll add the 0 there to show that's -9/10 there. One negative makes a negative. This is also going to be negative, so I know the answer is negative, and I just got to figure out what it is. So I'm dividing by a fraction. That means I need to multiply by its reciprocal. And so I'll go ahead and do some reducing there, and we'll see that no reducing on this part here. So this stays 9, so I'm multiplying across gives me 10 over 9. So -10/9 if you write that, that's fine, or changing it to a mixed number is good as well. So -1 and 1/9, or if you wrote it as a repeating decimal, I'd even take that, -1.1 repeated. So any of those answers would do. So let's take a look at our next problem here. It says you made 5 withdrawals of equal amounts from your bank account. The total amount you withdraw is $360. What is the change in your account balance each time you make a withdrawal? So I'm going to start with a variable. I'm trying to find out what is that withdrawal. That's what they're asking for. So amount of withdrawal. So from there, I'm going to try to set up an equation. So my equation is going to be this. I've got 5 withdrawals of equal amount. So 5 times the unknown here, in this case W, equals the total amount I took out, which was $360. So now I've got my equation. I'm going to go ahead and solve for what that withdrawal was each time. And when I divide 5 into 36, I get 72. So $72. Make sure you put the units there so I know what kind of number 72 is. Here it's asking for us to write an expression in simplified form for the area of the rectangle. So area is just base times by height. So I'm going to take the base, the 5x minus 2, and I'm going to multiply that by the height, which is 7. So I'm distributing that 7 over that expression, and that leaves me with 35x minus 14. Since I don't know what the units are, I'm just going to put units squared. I'll put some parentheses around it. Since that is one number, just don't know what it is. So on this next one, I cannot combine the 6k squared with anything, so I'm going to leave that separate. And then I'm going to combine the terms that are like. So the like terms have the same variable raised to the same power. So the negative and the negative mean that I have to add the two numbers together, and I end up with a negative 17k. And then I'll bring down that minus 10. So that is the solution. Looking at the last three problems, this one is a simplifying with the negative sign outside the parentheses. So you can think of this as negative 1 times by 7f minus 4. So when I distribute that negative 1 over both these terms, both terms switch sign. So if it's a positive, it'll turn to a negative. If it's a negative, it will change to a positive. And that is the answer. Next one says you draw a line segment from any one vertex of a regular polygon to the other vertices. So the vertices are these points right here. And so we're drawing a line from one vertex to the other vertices that are opposite of it. And what we end up seeing is we see a pattern that ends up taking place. Now, we can't draw lines to the vertices that are adjacent to the vertex that we started from because they don't form, they are right on that polygon's side. So just to the ones that are opposite of it. So it says, what is the rule for the number of non-overlapping triangles formed? So give the rule in words and as an algebraic expression. So looking at this, we first off have a 4 sides, so the number of sides of a polygon, 4 sides, and we take away 2, and that gives us the number of triangles we have. So you can kind of see it if I drew a 4-sided figure like this. If I draw a line to an opposite vertex, I can only do one line there, and I have 2 triangles. If I had a 5-sided figure like this, you can see how I end up getting 3 triangles. See, I draw lines to the opposite vertices, and I have those 3 triangles. A 6-sided figure, you see how you get 4 triangles. So what's the rule? Well, the rule is just the number of sides minus 2. That's what's going on each time. So it's always the number of sides minus 2. So how do we write it in a word form? So the word form would be something to this effect. We could say what those represent. Since n means something more than just a variable, we could say the number of triangles in a polygon is 2 less than the number of sides of the polygon. So we can see that each time. Every time we're taking the number of sides and we're subtracting 2. So on this last problem here, and it's kind of cut off, so let's go ahead and move it over just a bit. Oops. Let's try to erase that now. So what's cut off is the last part, and it says write an algebraic expression for the word phrase. And here it says 3 less than the quotient of 20 and a number. So 3 less than the quotient of 20 and a number. So we're taking 3 away from something that's already there. What's already there? This part right here. The quotient of 20 and a number. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to write that in order, because whenever they mention quotient or difference, we write them in order. So 20 and a number. And so we don't know what the number is, so I'm just going to use n for the number. So 20 over n minus 3 would be what I'm looking for there. So those are the types of problems you're going to see on the test. Good luck.